Welcome to the Two Literal Podcast, where we're talking all things fantasy, romantasy, romance, and dark romance books. It could be the latest releases, timeless classics, book news, and anything in between. So grab a drink, some snacks, maybe a book, and if we're live, a phone to call in, because Two Literal is on. Welcome back to another episode of Two Literal. I am Ricky, and this is Tashi, and we are back going through a journey of the world of Solaria with Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. So this episode, we will be talking about book 4 of the Ruthless Boys series, where we'll be going through some more of Elise's journey with all of her kings and kind of finishing up some of those character stories and the multiple different wars going on in this series. And we're hoping that you guys can just follow along with us. Again, right now we're going through the world of Solaria, but we'll be inserting some different books in there and even taking suggestions from you guys. So we're hoping that you guys can follow along for the journey. Tashi, I know you haven't had a lot of time to read, but are you reading anything outside of, I know your Darkmoor Penitentiary just came out, the last one. Is there anything else that you're working on?
Okay, so don't judge me, but I have a lot of stop starts. So like, I'm like, per Audible, I'm like 5 hours from being done with When the Moon Hatched. Everybody really loved it, but like, it's not doing it for me. I'm gonna finish it. When is probably a better question. I'm supposed to jump back into Fairy Tale at some point soon, but it's like, it's a physical read, so you know how that goes for me. A physical read is like way harder for me to get through.
But even with Alexa?
Even with her reading it, sometimes I need to go back and look because like right now she's reading DP4 and every time she says Kane, I hear King. And I think it's because we're reading this too, but I don't know. So like, I'm like, who is she talking about? So sometimes it doesn't work. And then, you know, like I read everything like on 125 to 150% or listen, I guess. So sometimes she's moving too fast and my ADHD doesn't let me keep going once I get stuck. So I'm like, no, we got to figure out who you're talking about. So When the Moon Hatched, Fairy Tale, Darkmoor Penitentiary. Everybody's talking about Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. So I'll be getting into that soon too. And I have our arc, obviously.
I'm super excited about that. I know you haven't started yet, or finished, rather. You started.
I am 3 pages in. I technically have started.
That's a start, though. I really liked it. I honestly gave it like a 4 out of 5. I loved the cover art, especially for her to be a new author. It's part of a series, so this is just book 1, and it kind of, to me, it almost ended like I don't know where it's going to go from there, but that makes me want to kind of read the next one a little bit more. So I'm excited about it. I hope that by the time we have another couple of episodes, you'll have read it and we can give a full, honest little chat about it. Or maybe we'll hop on live and we can do that. Either one.
You know, I'm always down. But we are here for book 4. So you have to tell me exactly what you're thinking since last time we left off, Elise and Leon were mated, which, by the way, go Leon. But what are you thinking?
I think this time I paid a lot more attention to everybody's reaction to them being mated, not just each other, but also the other people who I guess they were involved with. I would say she was involved with, but that they were involved with. I think that some people would probably look at Leon and try to figure out why he's trying to then pick up and get all of them back together. It's almost like these are like his besties too. But he talks about it. He actually points it out that even though people don't expect that of him because he's made it now, he still has kind of the urge to create a pack or a pride since he's a lion. Even though this time it'll be reversed, normally it's the lion and his lionesses. He feels like all of them are his lioness. So I think I pay a lot more attention to that this time around than I did when I read the first time.
I was excited, of course, because Leon, duh. But I was excited to kind of watch everybody too. But also it was kind of sad because everybody was so crushed. And I think even during a reread, you don't realize how much you're rooting for everybody.
Yeah.
Until somebody wins. So like, all right, win for lack of a better term. It was exciting. Like the first place they end up is at Leon's house. the funniest part, or one of the funnier parts, because I feel like this book in particular had a lot of big moments.
Yeah.
But Leon's moms, plural,
Yeah.
like all their like prepping with Elise and her being like more of a solitary order. So it
Yeah.
being a lot for her, but also like she doesn't have a mom. So it's really nice that she gets to get over cared for when she's so under cared for most of the time.
Do you think that was their kind of intention on making sure that she was mated to him first, knowing that he had that, like an overabundance of that in his life?
You think like do you mean the authors or the stars? Because I have different opinions of both
No,
people.
the authors.
Probably so. Probably overcompensating just a little bit. Or maybe I guess the authors sometimes consider themselves the stars. So that's kind
Yeah.
of funny too. But I think maybe part of it was everything that was coming up too. Because a lot changed in like family dynamics,
Yeah.
especially for the knights, I guess is
Yeah.
what you could say, over time. So like I think it was intentional not just for Elise, but for them too, because
Yeah.
everything else that happens
Yeah.
in this book.
Did you have another like huge revelation that you had moving into this book from last book?
Okay, so I knew how important family was to Dante, but like rereading this book and how he's like very, even though Elise and Leon both are like, "Hey, come get some," he's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Nah, y'all married. I can't do it." And
Yeah.
they're like, "It's fine," and he's like, "Nah, I can't do it." And they're
Yeah.
like, "Please come do it." He's like, "Nah, I can't do it." Like it's so funny because like everybody, like Leon's like, I'm cool with it, right? Like to the point, like he says it in public
Yeah.
so many times where it's so crazy that it's just like, yeah, he said he cool. Like, what you tripping about?
And out of all people, I would have thought that Dante specifically would have been a little bit more open to it, because even though it's not his order, the family he grew up around, they're poly in most cases anyway.
He said it's the mate part that throws him
I
off
know.
because his parents were mates and they were like, we never even looked at anybody else.
Yeah.
Side note, you know what I was thinking today? The knights are like the women of the knights are like uber
Mhm.
duper into Elise. I'm kind of sad I didn't get to see that with Bianca, Dante's mom,
Yeah. Yeah.
more,
Um,
because I feel like that
but
would have been the perfect like separation that she needs. Like, what I'm
it
trying to
would
say?
have, but I think to her credit, after Elise has made it to Leon, she gets to see Dante kind of break over that. So I think in some ways it's almost like building back up her trust in Elise that she's not gonna hurt him again. Now we know what happens, after the fact, and what's to come, but in this portion of it, I think that we have to understand that not only her, but like his whole family was kind of looking at her like, you hurt our alpha, and for her
Yeah,
that's her
because
son.
Rosalie was kind of pissed. She
Yeah.
was like on site. I think good things came of that too, though. I feel like this is the beginning kernels of Ryder and Gabriel becoming friends because they
Yeah,
have like a little
actually.
bit more like sympathy towards each other.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that earlier today myself, is that I do feel like them being mated in the way that in the order that they were, in the way that they were, allowed for the other ones to come together a little bit more. It's almost like they related to each other more, um, because of Elise, but now that she was removed from the picture, you know what I mean? Like they kind of bonded over that grief of losing her.
And also, everybody minus Dante's irritation over liking Leon more than they thought.
Yeah.
He's like the perfect type of person that get on your nerves and eventually they wear you down.
Well, but not even that. Like there was a part in there where Ryder felt Dante's pain over the loss, and he was like, but why do I care about that? And vice versa. They both kind of saw that in each other and was like, why do we care if the other one is hurting, especially since they're supposed to be at war with each other?
Speaking of war, Felix stealing all the kids. What were you thinking? Like, I didn't. Okay, so I did understand the purpose of stealing the kids when they were like, oh, they're stealing the kids to make the parents do what they want. But also,
Yeah,
like, who got the time to be watching a whole bunch of little kids running around? It just sounds really hectic.
it does sound hectic, but I think that that was intentional for him. like you said, to not only to control the parents, but because he wants the next generation to be under him. Because, Felix is always thinking of how he can gain that power. And I think that a lot of people don't understand a lot of times the power in the next generation that's coming up, even with us as people. And I think Felix kind of overstands that, and that's always been his plan. He even did the same thing to his own daughter with Rosalie, trying to make her be the top of whatever she was going to be. Like he raised her to try to be an alpha, trying to put her through different situations, making sure she had pain and knew how to overcome that and things of that nature. So still in the kids, I think was kind of a twofer for him. He wanted the parents, but he also wanted to be able to groom those children under him. And it's pretty sick. I thought about also kind of the parallel and how that was going to affect Ryder when he found out that that's what he was doing, seeing that he did the same thing to him.
I definitely think Breadcrumb does a little bit for Rosalie and Ryder being best friends, besties for the resties. But, yeah. I mean, because, even though Ryder's situation wasn't with his direct parent, like Rosalie's, being tortured by somebody who's supposed to take care of you or somebody that's in charge of you definitely probably makes a huge difference. But also, I think we actually got a chapter from Rosalie when she was like, before she got captured, because ultimately that propels everything on. She kind of said that like she was just trying to, in alpha nature, because she's an alpha too, which I never understand the double alpha thing in their pack, but that's none of my business.
Yeah.
But like she said that like that was one of her biggest fears. She felt like something was going wrong, and she kind of knew because she's a moon wolf and she has like special powers. She knew that like she was gonna get caught, but she went ahead and did it. And she's terrified of her dad. Doesn't like him. He's been a horrible father from the beginning. I don't know. I like Rosalie.
So you said something about the double alpha thing, and I think we saw a lot of that. Not only in her coming up in this series, but in Darkmoor, we get to see both of them leading different like aspects. And I'm like, I wonder how that works, because they're supposed to be one pack or one gang. So do they lead like in different areas of like Solaria, or like what do they do?
Maybe she's, I don't know. It confuzzles me perfectly. I don't get
it. Because all we ever hear about is Alestria as it relates to Solaria in this book. So then how are they both running? Are they like co-alphas? But it always talks about her having her pack and him having his pack. So it's very confusing. I think that's something we would have to...
in my head, all I think is like, maybe she does like the dirty work, but Dante's the face. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, because like Dante still is kind of like well known, even just like when we get to like Zodiac Academy, like, like he still has to go do the professional stuff. Speaking of professional stuff, we got to see Lance again because they got that book that they found from Gareth about his dark work with the black card.
Yeah.
And I just would like to point out that Gareth was really trying. He was really trying to navigate getting out of there. He wasn't able to tell anybody. Like, not everybody's as lucky as Gabriel to go get a Phoenix ring and be able to not be, I don't know, dark course. No.
Yeah.
Gareth was just over here like, I'll draw a picture, yellow, maybe it'll work.
Yeah.
Like, I think I need to plot my own death. I think, okay, so him pretending to plot his own death or deciding that's what he was going to do actually was like the most encouraging part of this whole book, because I feel like this particular book had a whole lot of like lows. Like,
we did, yeah.
A whole lot of lows.
I think the biggest high came soon as you started reading and like them being mated and stuff. But even that was like, it was supposed to be a happy moment, but then we saw the other side of it with the grief. So watching Gareth and him giving us hope through him trying to plan his escape from everything, and including Elise and that, or Ella in that, I think was kind of the highlight of it. Because then we get, like I said, we get some hope that maybe it didn't turn out the way that everybody's thinking it is.
Oh, okay. And another high of this book? Old Sal getting caught. Red-Handed by Dante, and Dante having that fake face on, or like the illusion of another face, so that she didn't even realize that, like, I don't know how you call it, like her boss that runs the city was there, but like she was horrid. Like she was bad all book, but she was horrid this book. The whole trying to get Elise to sleep with somebody after she was mated because you get 100 auras. Like it was all by doing the siren song. It's a lot. It's a lot. That's all I'm gonna say. Like it's a lot.
And I never thought of giving this book a trigger warning when it comes to SA, but I think rereading it and after reading some of the dark romances that we have where that's like a big trigger, I feel like it's worth mentioning in this because of the fact that she would have been coerced into that against her will had he not barged in like he did, you know? And I expected Elise to have bigger feelings concerning that than what I feel like we got to see. Maybe she did, but I don't feel like we got to see as deep as what I expected to with her.
Agreed. And then I was surprised that Osal didn't die. Well, or maybe I misunderstood that, but that's how I read it. I knew the dude that like her partner or whatever, he died, but like Osal didn't die. No death.
I think that maybe it was implied that she died, but I'm like, you know, like on Game of Thrones when Cersei died and everybody talks about how her death wasn't big enough. I feel like Osal's ending moment wasn't big enough.
Yeah, and I feel like
wanted to see more of that.
Like, cut her neck or something.
Yeah, but, like how we get to see, you know, just how the therapist died in book 3. Like, I feel like that should have been a bigger moment.
I would have loved an
it's such a big
for
moment.
Her. Yeah, for the therapist. Who cares? Or okay, what about Elise going to see her mom to get more answers about stuff? How did you? I know that we tend to have very different opinions about all of this. So how did that go for you?
To be honest, I know that her mom is significant in her life and a lot of the things that she believes in and how she lives, but I don't feel like her mom's input in this story is significant enough for me to even, you know what I mean? Like I don't feel like her going to see her, or the moments where she talks on the phone, all of those were just confirmation of things she already knows, you know?
So I felt like, so I remember being very upset with her mom when I read the first book, but listening to their conversation, it sounded like a horrid miscommunication between the two of them. And they both kind of like, obviously it changed their relationship, but what they thought and what was true, kind of like, I don't know. I had more hope for reconciliation than I did previously.
And I don't know that I did because of the fact that I know that Elise is an adult in this book, but she's just like newly an adult, you know, like still trying to figure life out. Her mom has been an adult this whole time. If it was a miscommunication, they could have talked about it, especially when, you know, they went through Gareth passing away. But so I didn't have hope.
I was about to say the miscommunication though was that Elise's mom just assumed because Gareth and Elise didn't lie to each other that he didn't lie this time.
Yeah, she knew about everything.
Yeah. But Elise thought the same thing until she started digging it up. So it's not a uncommon thought, you know, that like you already know. So I can see where I'm not justifying it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I see where it comes from because there's no explanation. But also she talked about how her mom went and did, you know, got lockjaw that Christmas to make sure they had gifts. So her mom cared at some point. That's what she said.
I do think that she cared, but the thing with people, sometimes even though you love someone, you also have to realize that loving them is not all that they need in every instance. Sometimes they really need you to just step up and be honest and be open and be authentic and things like that. And you know, sometimes even though Elise, I do think she knew her mom enough to know that those instances, like when she had to go make that happen for Christmas, those instances happened. And that was proof of her mom's like care for them as kids. It's sad to me that that's what they had to resort to know that their mom cared about them. Like there wasn't, and I love you, there wasn't an overprotection for them. You know what I mean? Like, the fact, and I do know that old Sal was manipulating the situation with him, but even the fact that her and Gareth were put in this position in the first place off of her gambling debt, you know?
Yeah. So something she said though, like to speak to your point, maybe she just wasn't good at stuff like that because the mom did say that maybe it was her fault from protecting Elise from thinking like that you wouldn't end up here, you know, basically as a prostitute and a stripper like me. So she said maybe I did you an injustice,
like a disservice.
Yeah. Protecting you for all this time. But also, people can't give you what they don't know that they can give you or they're not capable of. So, like, if she thought, I'm just going to make this easy until she gets there, she'll have to figure out the hard way. I'm going to just give her the best I can in the meantime. Maybe she did do the best she could. Some people love you the best they can, and it's still not enough. You know, just like,
I agree with that.
Like, if I went and ran in the Olympics and I did my best, you know.
Oh my gosh. I played football. I used to play, not on like a team level, but I played football a lot growing up. This is off subject, but I played football a lot growing up. And yesterday I played for the first time in a very long time with my son and my husband. Oh my gosh. I was so out of breath.
My cousins that I told you I went to the water park with yesterday, they are in like a flag football league with one another, but they're like 19, you know, like they got, they kept saying like, let's go down this slide. I was like, yeah. I'm like, let's go down this slide. Let's go. First, you got to climb all these stairs to the slide. Then I'm like, fat people should not be in enclosed tubes. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, what are you talking about? But
well, you know, go ahead.
I was going to say, back to what we were saying before we keep going on and on. Also, we get Felix's death in this book too. I feel like that was like uber duper rewarding with Ryder's help.
I always feel so bad for Ryder because I feel like he's starting to see how different their gangs are. And I think I mentioned this last time, like how different the Oscuras are in their loyalty and why they have loyalty versus his gang and why they are loyal to him. Because it's one thing to be loved and you're loyal because you're loved or because you're family. And it's another to be feared and they're loyal because they feel like they can't overpower you. Those are two different things. Thanks. And I think that he's always overly sensitive to him not showing any like emotion for it to be seen as weakness. And the fact that he is seen now helping who has been their enemy for generations, and for potentially for Elise, because that's what they see it as. I always feel bad for him.
And you know,
I'm partial to Ryder because I like Ryder, but also just as an individual, that's just sad to me.
His gang in particular, there is no room for change. You can't like have a new opinion about something, bring it to him, be like, hey, maybe we should do this differently because what I thought is not what it is. And further into gangs, we have Ethan and Bruce.
I was going to say that.
Ethan and Bryce, fighting for like their secondary position. Bryce is just the worst sore loser to ever exist.
Yeah.
Nothing's
I wonder
good.
What they felt like Bryce, like the writers, what they felt like he brought to the dynamic. Was it just to kind of be another antagonist, or what do you think he brought to like the story as a whole?
Okay, so I'm reading 5 a little bit before Darkmoor it came out. I'd actually made it to 5. I think his purpose is more there, so I can't really speak to it now. But I feel like his purpose was more there. He's a loose end tie upper.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know if it happened in this book, but I think it happened in this book. Isn't this when Elise went to go see the Kiplings?
With the cake situation?
Yes, with the cake situation.
I think so.
Okay. So one thing the sisters do really, really well is like a very funny insert. So the Kiplings, I feel like we've talked about them. They're, for lack of a better term, Elise's employers. They're 3 brothers. I have not decided yet if they are triplets or if they are just 3 brothers.
I think they're brothers. I do not think they're multiples.
Yeah. I mean, no, because they say senior, junior, and I guess middle. when Elise walks in there, Dante told her, did Dante or Gabriel tell her not to go without him? I think it was Dante told her not to go without him. And she decided, like, yeah, I'm not going to wait on you because he's been busy this whole book. This is all prior to Felix actually dying. Basically handling business at home. And she decides to go to their cache. And when she goes to the cache, one of the brothers is like, handling his business over in the other room. And the other brother was like, you wouldn't be weirded out if he was like eating or something. Sex is just a need that everybody has. But like they're all in the room and the other brother's reading in the corner while like it's a lot going on. I'm not gonna lie. Then they ask Elise if she wants cake, and turns out the brother was sleeping with the cake, and the cake that they were offered to her, or the cake they offered to her, was the cake that he had just got finished sleeping. It's so crazy. And she was like, and for lack of a better term, she was like, oh, what? Huh? Like, like didn't have the words for it. So.
And then he just so casually said, would you rather have eaten cake that there's not?
Yeah, like then somebody hadn't slept with. Like that's a crazy thought.
Like it's not, so they talk about that Kipling's and his like, would it be called a fetish? I don't know what you would call it. But I don't know what the other Kiplings are. I think all we hear about is like the cake /
that's
pastry.
A lie. In Zodiac Academy, we find out, I think, about the other two.
Okay. I do know that
about
they were
book 5.
Yes. Oh, Jesus.
About book 5.
That's very interesting. And it's funny for it to be them specifically because they're so serious and like matter of fact all the time. And then you get this part of them and it's like, it's so irrational,
Did you read the Beyond the Veil?
Yes.
Remember their serious friend was like into trees or something.
Yeah.
So like I feel like all the serious people have something like that.
So there was another thought I had with Eugene in this book, and it was relating to the other books. I feel, and that's something that didn't dawn on me the first time I read this. And we read this after Zodiac Academy, so we met Miguel, is who I'm talking about. I wish that we had gotten a moment with Eugene like we did with Miguel, where we find out why he's so like fragile. And eventually it comes out why Miguel is the way that he is and why they're always having to help him out. We never get that with Eugene. He just keeps going through it.
The Miguel? Are you talking about Diego?
Diego, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. Yes. We do kind of get a glimpse into that book 5 again. I'm just because I'm on my reread. I just like read why, but we do in book 5.
I know that we see his order, but I guess I wish we had a big reason, and even throughout the other books that we finally see Eugene again. Yeah.
He a late bloomer. It's just everybody can't be great.
I know, but being great and being like beat up all the time to me are two different things. Like at some point.
But have you finished 5 yet on your reread?
Yes, I've reread it. Yeah.
I think you should reread his chapters again at the beginning where they talk about it more, because he's not that anymore by the end, like by the middle of that book.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't talk about the heist. Gone bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, our team needs to get this book that Gareth had stolen from the Black Card King. They need to be able to read it. They can't read it because it's dark magic, so they have to steal an eye, per Lance O'Brien, like an eyeball reader, from Lionel A. Crooks. But in order to do so, Dante has to accept an invitation to one of those dragon parties that he doesn't want to go to. So Rory, Leon, and Rosalie. So Rory is Leon's brother. Rosalie is Dante's cousin. Decide that they're going to help too, but they're going to be the people stealing everything. But Rosalie is unawakened, so she doesn't have magic. Everything goes pretty well up until the point that Rosalie falls and Rory decides to save her. And in saving her, he gets caught and sent to Darkmoor Penitentiary. And Rosalie vows on the moon, not the stars, that she is going to get him out. So it's a big thing. Leon is like super shattered by it. Like I know that knights never get caught. I know that. I know that. I'm well aware. But it's still kind of shocking that they never had like any attorneys or anything. But also like they really them people when it comes to stealing stuff. They don't need, like that has to be a different kind of cocky. No wonder Leon walks right around like he does.
It was like sad to me that they didn't have any precautions set up for if this ever were to occur. Like, even if they didn't have attorneys, they didn't have somebody to go try to break him out of custody before he actually got sent to Dartmoor, like anything.
Like out the car,
like out the car. In transit or like anything. It was sad that was so, like I said, matter of fact, that it was just like, well, he's gone before he ever even made it to where, he really was going to be locked down. So, and obviously we're sad about Rory because we not only fall in love with him here because he has a completely different personality, but also in Dartmoor Penitentiary where we see him again. And just seeing Leon so down, I'm always sad when he's sad.
Okay, especially like when he was like, I'm trying to plot how to break him out. He was like, yeah, I can't even like walk on the soil because Dartmoor Penitentiary is underground. So he can like, I can't even walk there without causing a problem. So it was really sad. But Rosalie, even without her not having her magic, they said they could like feel the intensity of her making her like declaration that she's gonna save him.
And not only that, with him getting locked up, then Dante kind of has to agree to Lionel's terms, and that comes with marrying, was it his niece?
Yeah, Juniper,
trying to marry his niece so that he can try to produce storm dragons. And so everybody gets tied in with this fate after, saving Rosalie, which she felt guilty for. But I know the biggest thing was Roy being locked up, but it kind of throws everybody off because Elise, at this time, they're finally coming to terms with all of them are kind of in this relationship all together. And now he's having to vow himself to someone else. I will give Dante credit. Obviously, we see him being more loyal. And again, because of where we see his family. But I will give him credit in that he felt so bad having to give himself or potentially having to give himself to another woman, knowing that like Elise was his, but also everybody else's, not everybody else's, but the other.
I was about to say, but he's like super into family.
Yeah.
So that's not like a crazy thing. Is this also where we get to spend Christmas together? I'm pretty sure we spent all of Christmas together where everybody had to do their, make a gift. Basically, though, Leon kidnapped everybody.
I was gonna say Leon.
he
in his master
matter of fact,
plans.
I know that happened because he kidnapped Ryder after they came back from seeing her mom. So it had to be this book.
Yeah.
So Leon kidnaps everybody. Leon asked Ryder to go with Elise to meet her mom, and they have like their little spat. They have it out. And when they come back, Leon just stardusted them to a whole other place that they can't leave. And then he does the same to Dante and Gabriel and also gives them order suppressant so they can't bust out their wings and fly away, nor do they know where they are to fly away.
Yeah.
And they're like, and he was like, if we figure out how to be friends, then Elise will come and you'll get another gift. And I know that has to be like, I know it was this book too, because Rory was still around. This was before he got arrested because he was the way everybody got back. Yeah. But yeah, he would like have them spend days there. Dante found out he can't cook, but Gabriel can. He found out how much closer Gabriel and Ryder were, more than he expected. Ryder and Dante spoke about their gangs and how there was at one time almost peace between them, but something went wrong. It was after Ryder's dad died, and after Ryder was found, Dante tried to initiate peace because Ryder's dad tried to initiate peace with Dante. So Ryder finds out he has a snake amongst his gang. That's not him.
Yeah.
So,
how do you feel? I do know that we obviously see what he says about that, but like that has to be a big blow for you to know. Number one, this was kind of the catalyst to both Dante's dad and Ryder's dad passing away, but also in that they've taken over and taken on this fight that neither of them really wanted to continue. Like, how do you feel like that really like got at him?
I mean, I could be totally wrong, but I think a lot of Ryder's journey is dismantling a lot of what he thought he knew. Like,
Yeah.
how you said we have like more like family have secrets come out all the time. But
Yeah.
there's like 4 or 5 people that knew and were kind of like, I don't know, softening the blow
Yeah.
with trinkets here and there. Ryder has built up such a following of fear that, like, I'm pretty sure he did not realize that people were not scared to do wrong things.
Right.
Or he felt like they were caught. Very much like how Gareth got caught and got beat up because Gareth or Ryder figured out that he was helping the FIB. I said it right again. I deserve points for that.
You're doing
the FIB, but also sharing the sex tape between him and Professor King. So like for Dante, and basically Gareth was like Leon at this point, an unofficial Oscura person, like like a proximity person. But like there's other parts too, like Ryder can't even be seen too much around Leon because of Leon's association with Dante, because they are best friends.
Yeah.
Like they are. So I think.
Did you think anything of the parallel from how all of them reacted to Gareth's secrets coming out versus how they reacted to Elise's secrets coming out about why she was even at the academy?
Oh, they were so understanding. They were so understanding of Elise, and I think retrospectively understanding of Gareth, but also I think if they didn't love Elise, they would not give a flying flip. Like,
yeah, but also
because Gareth tried to tell Gabriel, like, when he figured it out, he was like, "Hey, I'm stealing this money from my." He said, "I don't care." Like, like I don't think it would have mattered had they not loved her.
But I guess the part specifically about Ryder finding out that Gareth was the one to make that video and how he let him go, even though some chapters before we get to see him go kill the other boy for for essentially the same type of thing, for working with Dante. But for some reason, Gareth just got off the hook and was like, if I ever see you again,
I think that was like one of those things that doesn't make sense, but it furthers the plot. Like,
to me, a lot of those little moments were kind of like foreshadowing, and then they even talk about Ella in that conversation. They even talk about, but the potential of Elise running into Ryder and if that were to ever happen between them and things like that. It's funny that I feel like, and my brother does the same thing and talks about his sisters all the time, but I feel like Ella comes up in a lot of those conversations with him building relationships with these 4 other people.
Agreed.
Oh, I had another big moment that I did not see until this.
Oh, they saved that vampire too.
They do say the vampire, but we'll get to that. The other thing that I noticed in the second read of this is that she told Ryder she loved him before she even told Leon, who was her mate.
He probably needed that. Because, I mean, again, go back to like the whole, we want you to be a part of our pride. And they're like, y'all are mated. What are you talking about? They're like, you only have one mate. And she's like, hey, I don't know what everybody else do, but I still want y'all all the same.
Yeah, that was so when Ryder came back to class, which I don't even think she really thought he would, he came back to class and they were still partnered together. He pulls her into a vision, and that's where he told her, she told him that. But then later on, we see her and Leon together and she says it out loud and she's like, yes, I have said that to you before. And he was like, no, you haven't. It was just always implied. And I thought that was kind of a big thing.
A big thing for who? For Ryder? For Elise? For Leon? A big thing for whom?
I think it was a big thing for Elise, but I think that she knows that she's been feeling these feelings, but I don't think that she's open to it enough to be really expressing it like that until big moments happen. But I was surprised. It surprised me even because I didn't even think about the fact that she's never said it before, as much time as she has spent with Leon, even outside of the mating bond, because he was always the one that she kind of got close to faster.
Yeah, but that tracks. She leaves all the heavy for somebody else to carry.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was big. And maybe it wouldn't be to somebody that's not as much of a romantic as I am, but I thought it was a big thing.
That is true. It came a little late. It's nice to see Elise having to work more this time than the guys work. Because I feel like it was a lot of them chasing her, and now she had to do very much apologize. She basically said she was a stalker.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, she basically authorized stalking. Also, Cindy Pooh was ecstatic about Elise being a maid. Your arch enemy doesn't want your man anymore, or so she thought. So that's something to note. Bryce still hates Elise. That's obvious. And Ethan flirts with Elise, and Ryder never kills him. I always think that's so funny. Every time
I enjoyed Ethan in this series. I enjoyed him in Darkmoor too, but I enjoyed our introduction to him a lot more in this series than I did in Darkmoor, I think.
Ethan is hilarious in this book. He definitely gives Boy Next Door. Do you know that when I think of these books, though, when I think of like Ryder and his gang, I think like Leather Jackets, but like The Outsiders. Do you remember that movie? That book? That's what I think of. Like that's the kind of vibes they give me. The Outsiders with leather jackets and gelled hair, even though it routinely says that Ryder has like a buzz cut.
Yeah. So I know you did mention the vampire, and that becomes a big thing because it eventually leads to Elise being taken to try to replace that vampire. But I did not expect what comes of that situation. We know that he's important. We know that he's important to the Black Card and why he's there. We learned that. But I didn't expect what all comes from.
And we'll find out next book.
Yeah.
And we'll find out next book. But also, let's mention our guy Eugene one more time. He actually tried to go get help when Elise told him to, even though both of them were like drugged terribly, kill blazed. They were blazed off, kill blazed.
And I know that hurt Elise so much to have to deny that because she felt the same way when Gabriel did it to her in that situation. So I know that hurt her, but thankfully I don't remember us seeing Eugene like blame her for that though.
No, Eugene's scary, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Poor Eugene. But we're about to get ready for a new school year, I think, in book 5. So hopefully Leon gets to go back to Zodiac Academy in better spirits than last time. So he can hopefully win. I don't think I have any more. Do you?
I don't think so. I think those are the biggest moments. So we end on Felix dying. Elise gets taken. They all have to band together in both situations. Rosalie is in the middle of all of that again. So we get to see a little bit more of her development. And is there anything else to mention moving into book 5 for the next episode?
Felix was working with the Black Card. So when Felix attacked the school to have his standoff with Dante, Ryder helped Dante, and that's how he beat Felix. But also Rosalie was given to Elise to run away with her. But King, the Black Card King, found her, and she had to help Rosa get away, and therefore Elise got captured. So I feel like all those parts are important because it sets up a problem for Ryder, a problem for our Kings, a problem for Rosalie, because she's already kind of reeling from her capture, or Rory's capture, then her own capture, and then her trying to get away again in Elise's capture. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Rosalie. I kind of see why Rosalie felt guilty. I would feel guilty.
Yeah, no, I
can't do nothing right.
Yeah,
but I think that's everything for this book.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. So we're running into the next book where we'll see more of what they do against King, especially now that they have taken not Rosalie, both of them, but taken Elise, and how the other men band together and make sure that, she's safe. So I'm excited, but like I said, I'm always sad at the end of this series because we don't get to see a lot of them anymore. It's just like it ends their story. And yes, we see certain characters in the other series, but not like a continuation of their story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to talk about it this book. Never mind.
Yeah. we'll try to remain spoiler free as we continue to talk about everything. So I think that is it for this time.
All right. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, like and subscribe. We're happy to talk and engage anywhere we can, everywhere we can. And I think next book will be 5, and we'll be wrapping up Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac. This part of Solaria as we continue the next 15-ish books afterwards. 16, since we're doing 5.
And our next one is now a completed series, so we'll get to take you through that whole journey as well.